All right, welcome to the Within podcast. This is your host, Nicky, Wallace, and Payne. We have our very special guest, Polly Loneman, here today with NCMIC. Polly and her team came to the Potential Within last year and have been a big part of getting 2026 up and going. So we are very excited to have you here on the podcast and talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing, the work that you guys are doing, but then also maybe just a little personal, how you got kind of where you are and interested in this space. So I'm going to kick it over to Polly and you can introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. As I was getting ready today, we were in the room and I said, I'm with powerhouses. So anytime I have with the two of you, it feels fantastic. The energy is so good. But I am Polly. I am the VP of Marketing here at NCMIC. I have been with NCMIC for just under 5 years. I'm getting ready to start that. I have been in the marketing space for about 25 years. Seems crazy since I'm only 19.
How was that possible?
Yeah, I know, 19, 25 years. It just doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
But I have been in the marketing space for 25 years. And what I will say here and always is that marketing is genuine, right? And at the center of genuine relationships are people. And so that's what my connection point was to NCMIC when I came and met with the team here. I loved everything about what they were doing, not only for internal team members, but for the professions in which we serve. We are the malpractice carrier for chiropractors, and we also have a great space within the naturopathic care profession. And so we have over 45,000 doctors between the two in which we are protecting. And one of our biggest things we say on a daily is we take care of our own. And for a lot of companies, I think that becomes lip service, and that is not the fact here at NCMIC. We live that out in many of ways. I don't often meet people and they go, what is it you do? They usually know pretty well if they're in this space of the ways in which we are supporting the industry.
Yeah.
And at a time where personal care, self-care is so important, not only in what we're doing in our personal lives, but also in our professional, we have a bigger stake than ever to really show up in a way and support. And so when I came across this event last year, I was kind of like, wait, this is different. This is new. Yeah. What is this? And what I loved about it is that you guys were challenging conversations that people are often afraid to have, right? So you think about walking into a doctor's office and you go, here's my baseline questions. We don't often get to the next set in which you guys asked, and you did it publicly last year.
Yeah.
I had that notebook you had set on the table.
Yeah.
And I think I used 3/4 of the pages just in the day in which I was attending, because I was like, perimenopause? What? Me? Like, raise my hand. I need to know more about this. Like, this is an okay conversation. Thank you.
Right. Right.
So I was super pumped and came away from that day. We had a table full. Oh, goodness. Sorry, this is one we're going to need to edit. Lights came off because we were sitting. Edit.
Oh, you guys have the automatic lights.
Lord, this is a comedy of errors. This is hilarious. Okay.
No, we're not editing that out. We're keeping it because we're authentic, Polly.
Okay,
Come on.
there we go. But, I came away from that and just thinking that my entire table did, wow, this was an awesome day spent of learning more about the conversations that are important to us, not only as women, but just as professionals and caring for one another.
Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah, I know. The event was I feel like we went back and forth all of last year on what are people, how do we get people even to understand what we're trying to do? And so it was awesome, the turnout we had and just the feedback that we got. But yeah, I think Allie and I are very passionate about this is life. Like you talk about work-life balance and you talk about, but just because I clock in at 8 a.m. doesn't mean whatever's happening in the background stops magically for 8 hours so that I can go do my job. Yeah. So I appreciate that you guys came and that you gave us all the feedback that you did and had a great time. And I look forward to this year and just how we can keep having that conversation because it is different. I don't think people are used to having some of these conversations in these spaces, but why? Why not? Right? It's just life. So,
and I think you've created a space before we move. I want to go to this, right? I want
Yes,
to attend this. It's not something that we're looking to fill a table and we need
I
people to
know.
go. This was one of those that you're really going to get out of it what you put into it and the questions.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you guys were so careful in the conversations that happened after you planted a seed that day. And now it's continuing that conversation. And that's what's been so impactful for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Just making it okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talk a lot about the generations, and I think that this kind of goes with like what the younger generation wants, which is why can't we talk about this stuff, and why does it have to be? Well, we do it because that's how it's always been. Like I spoke at a conference last week, and so much of the audience was like, I just, like we think Gen Z are like lazy, and they challenge all the time, and they're never happy, and it's like, yeah, they might, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong. It's just we've just always done it the way we've done it. Like the older generations haven't questioned it, and I think now is the time where so many more employers and leaders are being asked why, not just by their 2-year-old or the 3-year-old or their 6-year-old. They're now being asked by their their colleagues in the room, and so I think we're at that tipping point where employers are either going to have to start answering why, or, they're just going to have a really difficult time finding great talent.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think of no better space than to marry the two, right? So I think about me, I'm mid 40s, and then to have a 23-year-old sitting right next to me, these are conversations that are healthy and happening right now. And that space is inclusive for some of those tough conversations. I think it's also a great way to talk about the resources that are available, right? We have, as I said, we take care of our own mentality here at NCMIC. And it's easy to say that. It's another to act upon. And so when I think about the programs that are in place here, the encouragement that comes with, seeking somebody to speak with, somebody to challenge your standard care and say, what more do I need as an individual to feel my best? If I feel my best, I'm showing up my best at work. And then also the wellness aspect. I don't know that people are able to put guardrails on that, but I think that this day in itself challenges that. What are we defining wellness? And that wellness is going to look different for you and for me. And that's the conversation that I'm really, really excited about, because it's not a one size fits all. It is not.
Right.
And I think, that's kind of the ultimate goal of where we're going with everything too is, not everybody, some HR, so I'm HR, right? Like that's the world I live in. But a lot of people, especially, I mean, even people that I know that have been kind of challenge me on what are you doing and what is this? Like I realize that not everybody wants to sit down and know all the ins and outs of every employee. And I appreciate that because I think sometimes that's the wellness path. Like that's what people think is like, oh, I'm going to know all about Stacy and all Stacy's problems and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, not really. But I think that's where like the resources come in, right? So even if you aren't willing to go put in a whole wellness program or your company has barriers because of XYZ, how can we at least give a resource and a space to be able to do that or advise them, this is a trusted space you can go to if they don't have it in their four walls. So just my personal journey, it became such a mental game for me as much as it was the physical because I didn't have anybody to talk to.
That's right.
And I was running the company at the time, so it was a little different situation. But it just opened my eyes to so many things. And then going in and consulting with all these companies that they may say that they're well-being and they have all these programs, and then their executives are still working 16-hour days, and it's like that's not healthy. So how do we keep just like bringing resources and awareness around the conversation? So
And I grew
I'm excited.
up in the day where we had an EAP. It was a sticker on my refrigerator, right? And if you asked questions around it, you were almost looked at as weak. And we've come so far from that. And I will tell you, when I made a pretty large jump in my career, I knew what was important to me. I knew where I had come from and what changes I wanted to see and what impact I could have on a team in which I was leading. And so I don't ever negate that experience because it was extremely important in setting me up for the success in which I have found today here at NCMIC, because they were interviewing me just as much as I was interviewing them, because I knew that I needed different things in this career path for me to be successful. So it's no longer just a magnet. It is so much more. It's a bigger conversation, and it's progressing. We still need work, though. We absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's the beauty of learning, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have a learning mindset, a curious mindset, then you're going to always learn.
That's right.
I think, Polly, one of the things that you mentioned that I just want to add a little bit of color to, I have a frog in my throat now.
No, we all, it's these these allergies.
What's going on? Is just the idea that I think the day last year just gave everyone, it just empowered them to like know that it doesn't have to stop where it stops, right? Like whether it's your physician, your leader, your spouse, like it doesn't matter. Like we empowered people to think about like, what could it look like? And you don't, not everyone has to know all the answers. That's the other thing. Like, I feel like a lot of us are like, well, I don't know the answer. Like, I can't, it's just like my 11-year-old, she has been having issues at soccer. And she's like, I don't want to ask coach if I don't understand. So I ask the other players, and then she becomes a distraction. And the coach is like, dude, you're being a distraction. And it's like, Olive, like if you don't get what the coach is saying, like just ask.
Ask the question.
And she's like, well, I don't want to look dumb. I'm like, you're not going to look dumb. Like half the other girls are probably like, I don't know what the heck he just said. Like, and I think that's part of it, is that I think the potential within Summit is giving people the opportunity to learn about what should they even ask? Because I think that's the other thing, right? Is that we don't even know what to ask.
Right.
Like Nicky, your story was, like I think Nicky's story around like what she did and the things that she shared last year and has shared on lots of podcasts. But it was like she didn't take no for an answer, right? She just kept asking. She just kept asking, and she might not have known what questions to ask, but she just kept saying like, this can't be the only thing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And a lot of the same with my personal story is long and lengthy, and one of infertility and then infant loss and a beautiful birth story that was tragic in itself, all wrapped in. But what came of that is me advocating for myself and knowing that I still was not healing and didn't feel. Every time I would ask, people would look at me like I was nuts. Like, you should be fine. Like the blood, all these things are coming back, yet I knew I wasn't. And so it was finding a way to advocate, and at times asking the same question in a different way. And that's what I really hope from last year. I hope that the people who attended came in and had maybe seen their doctor prior, and and then 3 to 6 months saw their doctor again and asked a few different questions and said, hey, I recently attended. Here's a couple of my concerns. Is there a way in which we could, have a conversation around that? I think you gave people the tools to be able to go in and be able to be informed. And as you said, Allie, empowered, and say, I want a different care path, and I'm going to start with you. Right. And it's okay to, at some point, when we think about my profession in which we serve, you have to find a doctor that meets your needs, not
1,000%.
Everybody. You think about a scheduling block. Typically, we get 7 to 12 minutes in any doctor office. In that 7 to 12 minutes, you go through you review the history, and then you try to sort out some path. And then it's next. I knew for me that care plan was not going to work. So I have found a local doctor that leans very naturopathic and knows me as an individual and is willing to have some of those tough conversations, is willing to say, I'm not willing to put you on medication. I want you to get healthy, right? I want you to be able to do different things. And so it's okay to ask some of those tough questions and demand care that's really going to be centered on you.
Right. Yeah. I told this story on another podcast, on the geriatric podcast, but I walked into my first appointment with this baby, and it was viable pregnancy, congratulations. And the first thing the doctor asked me is, have you thought about sterilizing yourself? And I was like, oh, And I didn't even like A, know how to react. And then B, I was like, I kind of thought we'd talk about the health issues because a lot of my health stuff had started after Nora. And she hadn't even looked at any of like, and when I told her I was in and out of Mayo and all these things,
Mhm.
um, she just was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'll, let the gals up front know what hospital you're delivering. And I was just like, did that just happen?
Isn't
Like,
it?
did that? Because a lot of my care had been at that, and that time had been at that clinic too. So yeah, when you say 7 to 12 minutes, I never really put that together, but yeah, it's been kind of interesting being in this like wellness space, and then going back to a traditional situation to go through this pregnancy, and it's just
Yeah.
wild. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I love about the chiropractic and naturopathic profession. It's
yes,
really just centering on who you are as an individual, and it's
yeah,
really tailoring that care so you have the best course of action as you move forward.
yes.
It's an easy yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, and we can go down what other path, the naturopathic and the work that you guys are doing, I know I had looked at going and doing, that naturopathic degree, but Iowa at this point, I don't think still even
No,
recognizes it.
we are not a
But
licensed state. We are not.
yeah, so talk about kind of the naturopath and what you guys are doing, and
Sure.
because I don't think a lot of people know. I think they hear naturopath and they just instantly think like woo woo wackadoodle,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah.
So we have been ensuring naturopaths here at NCMIC for 25 years. We're celebrating that.
Oh, wow.
So we
Okay.
recognized this need many years ago, and a lot like how our chiropractic path started back in 1946, when chiropractors could not get the care and protection they needed because they were facing a lot of the same. And so chiropractors got together and said, hey, if they won't do it, we'll do it for ourselves. And that's where
Yep.
NCMIC was born. And now we're celebrating our 80th year in the chiropractic space. And
That's
so
amazing. So
fast
cool.
forward in 2001, when naturopath was facing the same things, and we were able to see that there was a need there to protect. These doctors are so in tune. They
Hmm.
have an understanding of what the body is doing from the inside out and the
Right.
natural care paths that people need to lean into to feel better. When you think
Right.
about a naturopath, what is that? I think whole health. I think that they are looking at everything from top to bottom, that they are finding natural remedies to help you,
Yep.
again, feel your best. Now, what we're seeing a lot of and what you'll hear in today's climate is multidisciplinary and or integrated practices. So
Yep.
typically, we have naturopath doctors coming alongside a doctor of chiropractic. There could be a MD, so a primary care. They
Yep.
each serve their own purpose, and I do think a way of the future is these integrated practices. So when you go to a provider, you're not going to just see one discipline. You will see
Yep.
multiple, and all of these working together make you your best self.
Yeah.
And so, what naturopaths do and do very well is they are in tune and they are the best huggers. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
And it is
Yeah.
authentic and it is phenomenal. But they also know who I am as a patient, right? They're
Yep.
asking deeper questions and they're saying, what is it? They're trying to get to the root of the problem and they're going
Right.
to find a way. They are not afraid of referring. They know through their fact finding what that care plan is. And often
Yep.
that does include other disciplines. So they're really your main relationship of getting you in tune, making you feel your best with natural remedies. And then they're also saying, hey, I have a referral for you. I think that adding in this care path would be
Hmm.
very instrumental in your health.
Yeah.
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 I know. Yeah, there's so many, and that's why for this year, I know we were talking ahead of this about some of the things that we're doing this next potential within, and that I was like, hold on, there's all these modalities, and there's Cairo, and there's all the different
Mm-hmm.
techniques you can go in and red light, but I'm like, what are the things that we can just do that are
Yeah.
natural and that people have just forgotten about?
Yeah.
Going outside and sitting outside in nature for 10 minutes, or going for a walk, or the breath work. I
Yeah.
know that's going to be new for some people, but Like, not just because you're breathing doesn't mean you're breathing in a way that supports your body, which is like a wild concept.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where like some of the naturopath and their holistic approach is just, there's a lot of things you can do that don't necessarily cost money that we've just lost sight of as a society. So,
Exactly, exactly. And it's
but
being in tune. It's really listening to what your
mhm,
body is trying to tell you. I think
yes,
we often just get in such a hurry that, oh, they maybe feel that glitch, or they think, oh, today I'm a little foggy, but I don't know, it'll be fine tomorrow, right? And
yeah,
that's what this care path has really elevated. Let's stop and really take stock of how you are feeling as an individual. And
hmm,
again, I go back to, I don't think that you can be a great employee unless you are feeling great in your body, right? I think that we
yeah,
can go through the
Yeah.
motions, and whether that is from a nutrition, whether that is from a physical, a mental, all of these pieces have to melt together in order for people
yes,
to show up and do their best work.
yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's wild how many organizations have not connected. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, some of the folks in the HR space that I work with even kind of are side eyeing me
Mhm.
right now. And I'm like, if you don't feel good and you go into
Yeah,
work, like what does your work look like that
that's
day?
right.
It's not great,
Yeah.
right? But if you have some chronic condition, which I used to kind of like roll my eyes at the chronic, oh, I've got chronic back pain. Living that for 2 years, like I don't wish that upon anybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, how does that, if that's chronically happening, how does that impact you in the organization time over time? So
Right.
we're working on it. We're going to keep working on that message.
Pushing the
Every
envelope.
day, every day.
Yes, yes. And that's what I love about you ladies. That's why I say powerhouses,
Absolutely.
right? We need more of this conversation
Thank
to
you.
take place because we need people advocating. We have to, and we
Yes.
Yeah.
cannot stop. I grew up in a day and age where my dad said, little girls are to be seen and not heard. Well, he did
Yes.
Yeah.
that. He did that because he knew that I would challenge, right? He knew that I would be like,
Yeah.
hold my beer. Like, I'm here and I'm
Yeah.
showing up. And often, those of us who are strong and independent and willing to speak out, there's this perception, right? And that needs to be fought too. I want to hold space for these conversations because this is what is going to make the difference. This is what is going to make people genuinely happy, not only in their professional but their personal life, and
Hmm.
it's crucial. Crucial.
Yeah.
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 How do you think, or what are some of the things, I know you guys have an amazing culture, like what are some actual like day-to-day tactical things that happen in NCMIC to kind of support the well-being of their people?
Oh, so many. So here, I said we start with we take care of our own, right? And so that
Yep.
conversation happens from the ground up and from the top down. So when we
Yep.
are talking with employees, we're asking the questions of what is it you need? We're doing. Not only are we having the one-on-ones, we're being coached on conversations to have and how we can be of support to our team members. But we're also doing the surveys to ask different questions to make sure that we're getting the full story. I think that there's
Yep.
oftentimes people will say, I'm fine, or I just need some flexibility. I think that they need to be asked in a couple of different ways in order to get that full story. We have many programs outside of my EAP magnet. We are encouraging personal and physical well-being from top down. We are encouraging the mental approach to, hey, finding somebody that can be a resource for you. We have a pretty cool theme this year where we have a very big mural, and we are encouraging people to share their wins and talk about that. And a win is not just a pound loss, it could be something from an education viewpoint, bettering themselves, to finding a therapist that has opened up their eyes. It could
Yep.
be achieving something in the gym. It could be as an individual, hey, I woke up and I didn't get stopped at a red light on 141 today. Like it's massive, right?
Perfect.
Changed my whole outlook.
That's a
And
win.
so we're encouraging those conversations from across the board. We're also saying, hey, what can we do for you in support of the community to make sure you
Yeah.
feel validated and empowered? And when I made the ask for the sponsorship for this event, it was not even question. It was like, yes, how can we support and what can we do? How can we tell other teams about it? So we are
Right.
hitting this from conversation to action. we're saying it, and we're living it out. And what's important is that conversation is happening internally, but our doctors feel it too. They know when we're out interacting, that genuinely feels good, that protection comes with power, and it's personal empowerment that really is being drawn from having these conversations within.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Me too.
I know, I'm like, this is right up Allie's alley. Allie's alley.
Yeah. More than just
With her.
sending out one survey, right? And saying, hey, tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me. We all know you want flexibility. Great. But what else do you need? What else can we do for you as an individual that can support you?
That can't be the only thing you need.
That's right.
Or want, for that matter.
That's right. And, you know, we're encouraging our team members. I'm in a leadership position, and I'm encouraging them to, I need space, and I want you to hear me, right? As a marketer, typically we get cyclical in nature when we see this 2 to 3 year creatives are like, oh, get me out of here. And I've really tried to come back and say, I want this team to be cohesive. I want us to be strong. And so I want to know who you are as an individual and what things are important to you. So we don't have to go through that cyclical nature every 2 to 3 years. And we've been able to achieve that here. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was awesome even when you had us into the space, and I can't remember both their titles, but they were very high up, that you just pulled them over and you're like, hey, you know, and you could tell in that instance of, I go into organizations, we go into organizations all the time. I mean, for someone to just, you know, willingly, and they both stopped and talked to us and were interested in what we were doing. So, it's amazing what you guys are doing, and that you can really live that culture every day. So,
and both of those, Nicky, were C-suite. So that was the CEO and that was the SVP of insurance, right? And that's what I love about this culture here is both of their doors, when they say they're open, they're actually open, right? And you'll often find them out.
Yeah. I thought one of them was the new CEO, but
David.
I couldn't remember for sure. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like that. That was amazing how he just took that time to come, and he didn't even skip a beat. I mean, you could tell that you guys had a great relationship. So,
fun fact about David, he's actually been here for 30 years. And so it would have been easy for him just to come in and just status quo, right? Keep on. But he's encouraging these conversations and saying, what can we do different? And how can we evolve as a company culture just to make sure we're meeting the needs? And he's entertaining those conversations, and he's constantly saying, please stop by anytime. My door's open. Like, I want to hear.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But you guys have afforded me a space that has been personal, and it has been impactful. When I think about being in this space, marketing space for 25 years, I come back to the genuine relationships, and this has felt natural for me interacting with you guys. And it is really,
it's our goal.
It is, you know,
my dad to this day can't believe I had the conversation on stage that I had. He's always like, oh my gosh, I can't. I'm like, but that's what needs to happen. That's what you don't need to get up and tell all of your stuff, but you know, those of you that's healing for you, like, like share, and that's okay.
I want to hear that, right?
He'll never let me down now, or he'll never let me live that one down.
I don't, you know, I think we do a great job at times of going through the surface or just living at the surface and not sharing that true vulnerability. And as women, as men, as people, that is a connection point for me. And so that day will live with me for quite some time because of the conversations that not only happened on site, but then happened with those that I attended with that said, hey, I had no idea you went through that. I have a similar story, right? And so it's opened up this this space that has been so healthy, and it's really leaned into additional resourcing of, did you know, Polly actually went through something similar. She may be somebody that you could have a conversation with.
Yeah. And that was the most eye-opening. I for the first 2 years of my journey had never opened up, and I was running this organization and growing and adding employees and all this, and behind the scenes just slowly dying at home. And the one day I just came off my tongue. I was sitting on a panel, and somebody asked, like, what's one thing you've done that's not for your business? And it kind of came out that I've had this whole health journey, and I couldn't believe nobody said anything about my business that I just talked for about 20 minutes on stage. But the amount of women that came up to me specifically and were like, one was even having a surgery in 2 weeks and was like, I just don't feel like I should be doing this, but I haven't had anybody to talk to. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is a thing. This is like, people do not, have the tools or resources or just empowerment because they're so worn down from what they're going through. So yeah, so I'm glad to know that that's been able to open up for people that were at the event. But 1,000%, it's a weird place to be when you're going through anything, whether it's a mental thing, whether it's a physical thing, whether your son or daughter are going through things and you just don't know how to support them. We're all on a journey in some way. So.
And leave it to Central Iowa to host the first like event, right? And you think about, we always talk about the coast and how it comes in, and you guys are the thought starters here, right? You guys are the ones that are saying, we're going to have this conversation and we're going to do it again. And we're just continue to grow. And so that is so Midwest of us, but I love it and I'm here for it.
Really? Good.
Yeah.
I know. We were planning on going into some other markets this year, but
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Little situation. No, we're excited about. I had to finally tell Heidi and Allie that I was pregnant pretty early because we were like doing all this planning, and I was like, okay, like I actually can't be at an event in September because I'm pregnant. So
and what an amazing situation to find yourself in.
Yeah. No, it was fun to tell them. Okay, so I didn't tell you I was going to ask this question, but where do you kind of see, and you can share what you're comfortable, but we're both in the well-being space, but I think you're in a very different one that people don't always think about, all the things that are going on to advocate for some of these things to be able to be available to us. Where do you think like we're going with some of the naturopath or some of this support? I know you compared it a little bit one of the first times we met to the chiropractor world, that a lot of people thought they were crazy for a while until it became accepted. But where do you think we're going with some of this well-being and the resources, like from what you see?
I think that it's going to take time. I think that the political climate in which we are in, there is an interest in whole health. I think that more states are more willing than others. So when I think about the naturopathic profession, and this is typically starting, the West Coast is very familiar with this care plan. It is trending into the Midwestern states, and then East Coast will also follow. I think we're going to have to advocate. I do think that it is going to come alongside other health disciplines, and it's going to catch fire. I think when people understand that they are really centered on you as an individual versus what statistics are telling us and what common medicines are probably curing today, I think that once people know that, wait, they're really going to hear me and know who I am as an individual, that's where things are going to go wild. Do I think it's going to happen tomorrow? No. I do think that there is an amazing grassroots campaign right now that is happening, that we are advocating. I think that, along with many things, student enrollment, when we think about the big, beautiful bill that was introduced and what that potentially could do to campuses across the United States, when you think about that burden and the cost of education, I think it's many, many factors that are going to go into this. And reimbursement is always going to be a large conversation for us. When I think about chiropractic and I think about what is actually reimbursable, the monies that they're getting back, it's a struggle, and it has been for many years. We have got to make care affordable to everyone. This cannot be a conversation of who can and who cannot. We need to get all people, resources, and at the time of which they need it. And so
I agree.
We have grown, we have come so far, but there's still a ton of work to be done. And that's going to be done through grassroots testimonials, through events like this of people challenging the norm, asking a conversation to have a different conversation. This is what it's going to take. So we've been protecting naturopaths, like I said, for 25 years, and we've seen a ton of growth. But I am encouraged, and I want to be very positive about the next 25. But I will tell you, probably the next 5 to 10 are crucial for this profession.
Yeah. I know. I'd love to hear that you say you've been doing it for
That's
25
right.
years with the net, because I do think people think, oh, all these people are just popping up, and it's like, no, a lot of this, and a lot of the things that naturopaths are doing have been in Chinese medicine and ancient medicine have been going on for a long time. We just lost sight of
That's
it.
right.
So, yeah, I agree, though. I think it has been crazy to see how many more people are practices are turning to like self-pay, and
That practice
I think
base.
that's a whole
Yes.
conversation. So that's actually one of the topics. We have a great speaker that at the event will talk about how her and her family have actually budgeted for self-care that isn't necessarily covered, because I think that that's a whole other conversation with some of this naturopath and resources that are available. It's unfortunately not all of them are free.
No,
So
we've
we love
we've done a great job of telling people
yes,
what care is accessible and what care is not, and I don't think that's for others to decide for us.
right.
So,
Yeah, 1,000%. Well, if there's anything we can do on the potential within side to support some of those grassroots, I've never gotten into some of that, but
advocate, 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 right? That's what
yes,
we need.
keep telling the
Right.
story. Yeah,
And by you hosting this
yeah,
event, that is a large part of this. We need people to catch on.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Awesome.
Allie, do you have any other thoughts or anything
No, I
before
love
we?
Polly. Thanks so much for not only being an amazing person, but also just supporting all of this and being
Yeah,
I don't know, should I call you like some sort of ringleader? You're kind of a ringleader. Join the ring of all of us crazy people.
No, I'm a woman coming alongside other women and happy to
that's
support in
right.
every way. One of the things
We
you
love
guys
it.
had asked me early on is, hey, what would you tell young women? Right? I've been in the game, like I said, 26 years. And I would tell young women that empower one another. We don't have to cut
Yes,
each other down. And I think often we find ourselves in a place of perception and wanting to try to get ahead, but you catch more
yeah,
flies with honey than you do with anything else. And so just be
yes,
So true.
supportive, just be kind. It goes back to the
yeah,
golden rule, right? So
Yeah.
I am rooted in faith, and I just try to treat others as a way in which I would want to be treated. And so just be
yeah,
supportive and be a listener. Support.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. We love it. Well, thanks so much for joining
Yeah.
us.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I appreciate you both. And Nikki, I hope you're feeling your best, and I can't wait to see you. Give you a big squeeze and
I know. I'm gonna be really pregnant at this event.
wear it.
Yeah, my husband.
It's gonna be
My
great.
husband the other day was like, wow, you were like, and I'm like, yeah, it's been like 17, 18 weeks at this point. I would hope I look pregnant. So
Yeah.
it'll be fun. I know. I'm like, I got to find an outfit that I actually
Can we make a
can come
goal? You're
to
not going to tell people you're going to be pregnant. You're going to tell people you're going to be bumping. Okay? Like bumping. Yeah.
bumping.
I'll be
Yeah. I
bumping.
know.
Work.
That's why I was like, I got to make like a cute dress or something. I don't
Yes.
know, like with a logo,
Own
and I
it. Um,
add it to my, yeah, because yeah, it's been fun. It's been
yeah.
good. So,
Awesome. Well, always good to connect
okay.
with the two of you. Thank you so much again for
Thank you.
having me today. I appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for coming on, and we appreciate everybody listening to this episode of Within, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.